Hi, I'm Claire and this is lesson 2 of a Yarntastic guide to crochet. In my last lesson I showed you how to make a slip knot and work some chains, and so for this we're going to start off with a row of chains and we're going to be working into these chains to do our first row of double crochet, or in US terms single crochet. I'll largely refer to things in UK terms because I'm English and that's how I learnt. First of all, I'm going to get you to look at the anatomy of a stitch. As you can see, you've got, when you hold it on its side, you've got a top loop, kind of a middle bar that comes through the middle that creates the bump on the back, and a bottom loop. When we're working our first row, we're going to be working between the top two bars, so the top bar and the middle bar and the bottom one, and putting our hook through that bit there, so through there. Now when we work double crochet, we allow for what is called a turning chain. In double crochet, the turning chain very rarely counts as a stitch. If it does, your pattern will tell you so. But for now, and because the double crochet is the shallowest stitch, it has a turning chain of 1. So when we start our first row, if you know how many stitches you want, you'll chain that many, but you'll chain an extra stitch to account for your turning chain, because you start off your first double crochet in the second chain from the hook. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just put our hook through where we want to work the stitch, and then it's a yarn over, and we pull through just that part of the chain that we're going to work through. So you've got 2 loops on your hook. And then what we do is we do a yarn over and we pull it through both loops on the hook. And that's our first double crochet worked. So if we go to the next one, we move along to the next chain in our row, and we'll just put our hook through where we want to work it. And then we do yarn over, pull through 1 loop, so you've got 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and that's your second one worked. And we just keep repeating this until we reach the end of the row. I know I should have 15 here. Now what you might find is it feels a little bit fiddly, because the first row is always the fiddliest because it's your setup row. But there is a rhythm to it, and you'll soon find your comfiest and happiest way of doing it. See, I'm struggling there. Okay, so I've just completed my first row and I've pulled my original slip stitch a little bit tighter just to stop it being so baggy at the end. You should be able to see that at the front of your work you've got these kind of V's coming down which show you the stitch, and on top it looks like your row of chains again. That helps for when we work the next row. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn our work round, and then we're going to work a turning chain, which is just a normal chain stitch at the beginning of the row, and that isn't going to count towards our stitch count when we get to the end. Now, common mistakes for beginners is not working into that first stitch and not knowing which is their last stitch. So it's always important at the end of each row to count your stitches to make sure you've got as many as you think you should have. So to work on the second row and any subsequent rows, we're going to put our yarn, or our hook, sorry, not our yarn. We're going to put our hook into underneath those 2 bars that look like a chain stitch on top of our work. Wait for the camera to get into focus. There we go. And then we're going to work the double crochet stitch as normal. So we're going to do yarn over, pull through that gap. So we've got 2 loops, yarn over your hook again and pull through both loops. And that is a double crochet again. So now we're going to repeat this under, across the top of every stitch that we've made on the first row. And then I'll show you when we get to the end how, okay, see, this row works a lot easier than the first row when you're working into the chains. It becomes a natural gap working under those chains that you made on your first row. So nearly at the end now. It does twist a little bit when you first start. The longer it gets, the more easier it is to handle, as is the case with most things. So now I've got to the end, and it doesn't look quite as neat because we've got that turning chain, but we also have to make sure we work into that last one on top there. So hopefully you can see that. Oh, there. And so we'll work into that, and that helps keeps your sides straight. So there we go, you've got 2 rows. And you'll see that you've got the V's showing really clear on one side at the beginning, and then they're just offset slightly on the second row. And again, you've got that row of chains across the top, which is what you work into. Just make sure you always do your turning chain of 1 and work into your first stitch and your last stitch and count. So if you want to go off and practice that now, and then come back for the next instalment where I'll show you how to do a treble crochet. Sorry, I nearly said double again because I convert between US and UK terms. So it's a treble crochet or a double crochet in US terms. Hopefully I'll see you then. Happy practicing.